Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson, Zero and X-Force, and this is my DC, Marvel, and Image comic pull list for the week of November 16th, 2011, and today is the 19th. It is a Saturday. And first up here are my DC books, and first up for my DCs is Batman number 3. Now, I'm going to be saying a lot of things over and over and over again, and one of the things is how fantastic DC is doing with continuing to improve the book every issue. So I have a lot of my favorite of the series issues all being number 3. And the reason is they're just doing a fantastic job in increasing the writing, increasing the art. Just it's like they're getting into the rhythm now, and every comic that comes out is better than the last. And that's one of the best things you can say about a comic company, especially one that just relaunched. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the best thing they could have done, because as much as I was enjoying the DC books before, it was really tug and war between Marvel and DC for me, going back and forth, even though DC always kind of had a special part in my heart because I just love their characters so much. At the same time, it's like apples and oranges. I've said that before too. Marvel, they have some of my favorite characters as well, and they just handle and write differently. But Marvel was dominating before, but the last few months it's been all DC on the charts. And I have to say, they deserve it because they have been doing the best job you possibly could have done in such a big relaunch of a franchise. A great job, and here is one of the best books out there of a lot of great books, and that is Batman. And Capullo's art is even better in this issue, and Scott Snyder is just so good on this book. I have a hard time deciding what he's best at. Is he best at Swamp Thing? Is he best at Batman? Is he best on Severed with Image? But I have to say, at this point, his best work is definitely coming from Batman. Now with number 3, this is the strongest issue, and I'm going to be saying that a lot here. Number 3 is the best issue so far on this series. If you're not reading Batman, please go back, get the first 2. First or second print, it really doesn't matter because it's all about the story and the beautiful artwork. This team is fantastic, and I really hope they stay together as long as they can. And that goes the same for this team. This, another flagship comic of DC, number 3 of Justice League by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, is the strongest of the 3. And I really liked number 2. Number 2 was a really good issue for me. It was great. And when it ended, I could not wait for number 3 to come out. And when it did, I was pleasantly pleased in every way. First of all, Wonder Woman here. And I was really curious how one of my favorite characters of DC was going to be handled by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, because they have really not done her like this before. And I have to say, they did a really good job. A fantastic cover, but it is nothing compared to the beautiful, beautiful artwork between these pages here. A fantastic job. And again, Jeff Johns is really starting to get his story rhythm on. This is definitely the best written of the 3 as well. A fantastic book, and it is a flagship, and it should be. I'm so glad Justice League is finally at the top of the best books out there in comics. Love this issue, and I'm really enjoying this comic. Now, number 3 here is another one of my favorites, and this is Wonder Woman number 3. Now, this isn't as broad as the first 2. The first 2 is really, they're really loved by almost every comic reader that reads them. The general public, they've embraced those 2 books. This one it has kind of become a love or hate type book. A lot of the purists of Wonder Woman really didn't like the new art style, but a lot of the people that didn't read Wonder Woman before, they're really loving and embracing the art style. And me, I'm a Wonder Woman fan that's been reading this series for a long time. But for me, they've always dropped the ball. Like, it's been strong at first, and then the second or third story arc, it just falls off a cliff. So when they had a new team going in a completely new direction with Wonder Woman and it being relaunched and everything, I was really excited to see what they're going to do with Wonder Woman. And again, like a lot of DCs I'm going to be reviewing this week, one of the best DC books out there and the best of the series. Number 3 is a fantastic read, and I'm really loving the artwork. You know, at first, issue number 1, I was like, well, this is different. I kind of like it. Issue number 2 came out, and that's when I really became a fan of the artwork. And here, number 3 handled even better than the second issue. Just really well done. For those of you who maybe dropped it or didn't even bother getting Wonder Woman, please, when this first story arc comes out on trade, pick it up. You will like it. I think if you give it a chance, you'll really love this book. It's definitely one of my favorites. Love Wonder Woman number 3. And I have to say, I've said this before also, I really like the whole Xena angle they're going with Wonder Woman. I really think that it's what Wonder Woman has needed for a long time, and it's just really done well done. I just really like that. Next up here is another fantastic number 3, and that is Catwoman. Now this is a very mature take on Catwoman. This is actually the maturest read I've ever read involving Catwoman from DC, period. But that's a good thing. I really like it. It's pretty violent and definitely had sexuality, especially the first 2 issues. I thought it was, a lot of people thought it was like shocking. I kind of thought it was really kind of cool to see some of your favorite heroes in a very mature theme. Now, when I say mature, it's not like over the top mature. It just definitely has a mature edge to it. Catwoman, Selena Kyle, is definitely seen in a different light here, and I think the writing by Judd Winnick is fantastic, and I really became a fan of Judd Winnick after watching one of my favorite animated series, The Red Hood, the Batman animated show. Love that show. It's one of my favorites, and it really kind of had my eye be open for anything that Judd Winnick was going to be writing. So when I heard him taking on 2 books from DC, I was really excited. And both the books I liked quite a bit. I loved Batwing and I really liked Catwoman. I had to make a choice though. I had to choose one of the 2. And as much as I really liked Batwing, I absolutely love Catwoman. So I ended up choosing this book from out of the 2. This is a great book. And number 3 is definitely the strongest of the 3. Again, as long as you're old enough, I definitely recommend, when this comes out on trade, to pick up this first story arc. It's fantastic. Next up here is a character that is dear to my heart, one of my personal favorites, and that is Dick Grayson. Oops, excuse me. That is Dick Grayson as Nightwing. Nightwing is a character that I've always liked. I've loved Dick Grayson always, but you know, when Nightwing had his own series a while back, I never read it. I would catch an issue here or there. I read a few trades, but I really didn't follow the whole thing through. I wasn't reading as much comics then, just a few, but it's always a character that I've always liked, and I was really excited when Nightwing was coming back. Again, there's a few cool twists here. You have Dick Grayson being Nightwing after he was Batman for over a year. So I was really curious how they were going to write that. Again, Higgins is doing a great job, and Burroughs is doing a really good job too. This artwork is just really well done. It's very different than a lot of the other comics out there. Has a different feel to it. And I kind of like the whole thing, him going back to the circus and looking up his past type thing. It's definitely a strong issue. It doesn't have the broad view as the first 3 that I showed you, or first 2 especially. But for me, if you have even a passing interest in Dick Grayson or the Nightwing character in general, it's definitely a great series, and you should definitely pick up this series. I have to say, I was really trying to find a reason to drop Nightwing because I'm trying to cut back on books, but it keeps on bringing me back. Like, I'll think, okay, this will be my last issue, and then I'll get to the end and I'll think, no, I have to find out what happens next. And that's a sign of a team handling a comic really well. I really like this book. And last here for my DCs another one of my personal favorites, and that is Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 3. It's very strong. Unlike the first ones I showed you, this one is just as good as, I would say, the second issue. It doesn't quite have the large steps that the other comics are taking, like, wow, this one's better than the last one, wow, this one's way better than the last one. Not quite like that, but it's definitely a really good series. The artwork, guys, is fantastic. It's beautiful artwork. The writing's really strong, and it definitely has a kind of edgy feel similar to Catwoman. Has a little bit of mature theme to it, not too much, just enough to make it feel edgy. I think that's the whole point. But Red Hood's a character that I've really loved for a while now. Jason Todd was one of my favorite Robins, and of course everything that happened to him was very dark and kind of interesting at the same time. So this is someone that I thought should have a comic for a long time, and I was way blown away when I heard that they were coming out with a Red Hood. And at first I wasn't sure about the whole team aspect here. 3 people that I wasn't sure how they were going to fit together, but they did a great job, and this team, like a lot of these DC teams, really handling these characters extremely well. Very good issue. And next up are my Marvels. And first up here for my Marvels is the Incredible Hulk, number 2. You know, at first I really thought DC was just going to just blow everything Marvel had out of the water, because Marvel was starting to do some things that were probably slip-ups with a lot of their like X-Men characters and stuff. This series ended a while ago, and when it came back, I was excited and almost like, oh, what are they going to do now type thing. Are they going to ruin one of my favorite characters? But instead, man, they did a fantastic job. I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying this Incredible Hulk series. I'm just really pleased with a lot of comics in general lately. I know it sounds like I'm just giving everyone praise, but they're all earning it. And again, I'll have a lot of these characters are my favorites, so I definitely has that edge to it. But this is the Incredible Hulk the way I like him. I mean, just look at that cover. He's fighting gamma juiced up sharks. How can you not love that? The artwork is absolutely beautiful. It's some of the best artwork I have ever seen done on the Incredible Hulk. And the story is really fresh. It's a really good take on the Hulk. He's fighting all kinds of crazy gamma monsters that a kind of crazy Bruce Banner is making. I mean, come on, that's just great. I have to say, this has really hit me from left field. I had no idea that it was going to be this good and this soon. As much as I loved the last run of Incredible Hulk, I have to say, if they continue doing this well and this interesting, this just might be the best run of Incredible Hulk that I've ever read. I hope I didn't jinx it. I absolutely love this comic. It's one of the few comics that's keeping me from reading all DC. And next up here for Marvel, and last up for Marvel, is one of their most solid comics. And that's X-23. This is number 17. And it has been really solid. I mean, it's never quite at the level of what Incredible Hulk is right now, and a lot of the like new relaunch of the X-Men books. It's not at that level, but it's never been low. Like, it's always been either very strong, very good, or excellent. It's never blown me away, but it's always been really interesting. It's a character-driven story. It's also, it can be, read completely separate from everything else that's going on in the Marvel Universe. I really like this whole thing they've been doing with the X-23 and the Future Foundation. She's kind of connected here with the young kids, and this is a great cover, by the way. One of my favorite covers from X-23. This movie, I remember this cover quite a bit from Adventures in Babysitting, and this is a great cover. And I have to say, this is a really strong beginning to what possibly be one of my favorite story arcs from X-23. It's very endearing, it has a lot of cool, edgy stuff going on. At the same time, it's lighthearted, and I really like that. The artwork is being done by someone that's done X-23 before, and it's my favorite, personally my favorite artist that's ever done X-23. So I'm really glad to see this artist back. A really strong comic, and I can't get rid of it because it's just always interesting. It's always good. It's never not good. So a really solid and strong issue for the first story arc of what looks to be a really fun run. And last up here is my only image, and that is Severed, number 4. Scott Snyder and Scott Tuft. This is a great comic book. This is Scott Snyder writing horror in a way that only Scott Snyder can. Of course, I'm not saying that he's better writing this than he is at doing that Batman, because I love Scott Snyder and I love Batman, and together with Capullo is just a combination that just explodes in your mouth with fantastic flavors. So I can't say that, but it's definitely one of his best written stories. It's pure horror. It's a really cool twist on the horror genre. It's American horror, and I've been really enjoying that show, American Horror Story. It's very much like that. A really good book, and when this comes out on trade, I'm definitely going to be recommending this for everyone. A really good book. Now, I do want to show one more thing here. It's going to be kind of tough, but I picked up a new trade, and that is the gigantic, oh my gosh, look at that, Walking Dead, the first 48 issues. I've been wanting to read Walking Dead for a long time. I watched the series, so when this came out, I was like, oh, I want to get it, but it was really expensive, but the price came down, so yeah, awesome. I just started reading it. Oh my gosh, it's really heavy. Fantastic. So I wanted to show this to you guys. So excited to get through this. And with that said, those are my comics. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys have picked up any of these, what you guys think of these. And if you guys have picked up that gigantic Walking Dead trade. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.